right, welcome back to Q&RA, where you guys submit the questions. I'm going to give you realistic answers. It could be about anything that you guys want in the fitness industry. It could be anything from training, diet, nutrition, supplementation, my thoughts on certain things, where I think things are going to. And based on my background, based on my education and my perspective, I give you that. Now, just understand it's my opinion on certain things. Also, I can only tell you from what I know and what I've researched and what I've studied. I'm not just going to just say things without having any knowledge to it. If I don't know the answer to something, I probably wouldn't answer it, or I would tell you, this is what I know of it so far. But yeah, so you guys gave me some good questions. I'm going to give you some great answers, and we'll get this thing started. All right. How's prep going? Prep's going pretty well. I'm meeting my coach in 2 weeks at the Olympia. We're going to be at Dragon's Lair. We're going to just go through quarter turds, go through posing. I am working with a posing coach, Justin Badgerina. He's a 2-time class physique Olympian. He was just at the Road to the Olympia, filming for that. So he's going to come back. He lives up in the north, so he's going to come back home. And then Sunday, I'm working with my second session with him. I feel like I really connect well with him. He's a close friend of mine, and he was working well with my coach and communicating. And we're trying to make sure that I come in on point. I am practicing posing routines just, for a minute, and getting creative with it after I train, I work out. That's the number one thing that I feel like is emphasized more is posing. It doesn't matter how good you train. If you can't do great poses, if you can't display your physique well, it's just not going to show. So that's one thing I've always kept working on. Even with my girls, I would always tell them, like, you need to practice. If it's 30 minutes or an hour, put some effort into it, because when they go through rounds and it's like they want the best person that showed up best, you got to be that person on point. And so prep's going pretty well. I don't know what we're going to do a show in 2026. I'm hoping sometime in spring if we're ready. Maybe in the summertime if there's something close by on the East Coast where I live. That's where I'm probably going to go. So, we don't know yet. So plans will be, things will change probably after October. And we want to see the schedule. Maybe in December, we maybe see like shows get dropped, shows get added. I don't know. So many shows in classic, so many in Bikini and men's physique. So we'll see how that goes. I just, one day at a time is what I always say. Predictions for the Olympia. When are you going to do that? A lot of people are starting that. I'm going to wait. So I think next week from today, I will have predictions for the Olympia, because there are athletes who are qualified for the Olympia this year that are trying to qualify for next year. And, I think there's 2 shows, the Southern Muscle show. So I'll see after I see the lineup for that and see who's in it, maybe who's qualified for Olympia, who's doing it, because it's 1 week out. I'll probably have a list. I already have 20 people, but that could change depending on who's in the show or not. But as of right now, I'm going to say Thursday, I'll have probably doing my predictions. I'm also going to bring my laptop with me to the Olympia and then talk about that and, go over things. But I think I'll have my predictions. I'm probably going to do top 15. And also like 5 who I think have the potential to place. So essentially 20 of the best girls. And I believe I just want to, take the time to like look at that and go through it. So I'd say next week I'll do that. All right. Thoughts on GLP-1 being used in a cut. So I know that's been used recently. I don't have much. I mean, I'm seeing more cons than pros, but like I said, I could be wrong. I mean, if you're using it in a safe way, I'll say yes, it's effective. I think just like anything that you're taking with a cut, they should be used seasonal. They shouldn't be used year round. Otherwise you experience side effects like, fat burners, for instance. I think those should just be seasonal. Like you're not going to take fat burners, all season. Like if your goal is like from going from off season to in season prep, I'd say yes to fat burner. If you have a goal to make a certain weight, to look a certain way, this can help you in addition to your diet, your training and exercise. Taking a fat burning and not doing anything doesn't make sense to do it. But thought my GLP-1, like I would give it, for me, I would give it a couple years until I see something before I decide to implement that. I just kind of thinking right now, just for the safety and health of clients and athletes, I wouldn't implement them. But things could change, but I'd like to say I'd rather be safe than sorry. I'd rather do something where I think it's effective, because if it's used the wrong way, then you get the side effects. And yeah, I see a lot of cons and pros, but like I said, I'll just wait it out. So um who is someone in the past that you notice in bikini? Who is someone in the past that could compete with today's bikini standards that way was ahead of time? Someone in the past, like someone who may have had tie-ins in the past that would get docked down, that wouldn't place back then but would do very well now. If at the top of my head, I would say um that girl from Canada, way before Jen and way before Laura Lee. She took second in the Arnold. Like, she was like top 10 at the Olympia a couple times. I think Justine Monroe. Yeah, Justine Monroe. I honestly think that if she waited longer and competed in today's bikini, she would do very well. She was really successful. I mean, she was a top 10 girl. She did get second, I think, to Ashley at one of the Arnolds that she won. Let me see if I could pull her up. Let me see, Justine. Let's see. Like this one. I think this was, yeah, the Arnold she took second in. She had tie-ins way before that was even a thing, and way before that was emphasized. So like 4 years later, had she competed, I think she would have done very well. Let me see. She had an amazing physique. Also really great poser as well. The only thing I didn't like was the blonde hair, the pink suit. Looks too Barbie. But yeah, I felt like if she had done bikini now, she would do very well. But she was just way ahead. I feel like that's an example of someone who could have waited longer, but things happen. Times change, physiques change, and what gets awarded, back then is now getting awarded now, and bikini's starting to develop even more. But I would say Justine Monroe. All right, going back. Have you used peptides to recommend them? I've not, but I mean, they're being more talked about and more like used now more than they have in the past. But the one I do know that I say, if you are training intensely and need help with recover, BPC 157, I'd say, in my opinion, is safe. I'd recommend that one. I don't know about other things. I mean, like I said, I want to do more research on that, and that's something I'm going to even do even now more. But I only would say only if it's like necessary, only if it makes sense. So I might in the future, but I'd say right now the only thing I could recommend based on my knowledge is BPC 157. Best place to have the Olympia, Orlando or Vegas? Do you see it in another country or state in the future? So I don't see the Olympia going outside of the US, as much as they have crazy fan bases in Brazil and in Spain, Europe, Korea, Japan. They like the smaller physiques. They like, classic bikini and men's physique, because obviously that's the popular physique. That's the physique people resonate and relate to. And it's more, aesthetically pleasing. The main attraction is open bodybuilding, which is very expensive. And that's why you don't see those countries, like the Asian countries or even in Brazil, have many open bodybuilding shows, because the sanction fees are more, the cost of the shows are more, the prize money is more. And it's just not really like, listen, the main attraction is always going to be open bodybuilding. That's the main event of the Arnold. That's the main event of the Olympia. And obviously that's almost millions of dollars, almost, I think in a couple of years, the Arnold and the Olympia are going to make first place $1 million. I mean, the top two guys currently, I mean, unless this year something changes, the top two guys in open at the Olympia are worth $850,000. First place is 600,000. But I don't see it going outside of the US. And we have, I think now 11 divisions, 7 female, 4 men divisions. The cost of travel, the cost of hotel per diem, it would just be too much. I mean, most of the athletes that are qualified for the Olympia are living in the US. Yes, Brazil is the second biggest country, but it can't go to Brazil because most of those girls did not even qualify winning shows here outside of wellness, which is the outlier division. I don't see it going into another country, but another state. So as a fan, I love it in Las Vegas. That's the best fan experience. The only year I did not like it in Vegas was 2022 Olympia when they had in the Venetian, and you had, for the girls, for the females, they had to go to 3 different hotels. They had a host hotel, they had a hotel for makeup, and a hotel for tanning. So within a span of a couple hours, people were going all over the place, and it's just so much stress. It's like have everything in one place. I want to go into a show like that, especially at the highest level, going into like I'm gonna go in, I know when to peak, I know when I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna be great. Now, as an athlete experience, I would say Orlando's best. Only thing that I don't like about Orlando is the traffic. Because it's a tourist attraction, obviously, because it's Disney World. What are you going to go after the Olympia? Disney World, like, hey, let's go to Disney World. But everybody's in one place. The host hotel is connected to the venue. All you have to do is just walk across the sky bridge. And I like it in the Orange County Convention Center. The only thing I don't like is traffic. And that's one thing. Like I say, Orlando's a great vacation spot, not a place I'd want to live in. I mean, the gyms are nice there. The Vegas is growing in the gym culture. I think that's the place to be. That's like the fitness hub, I think, now of the industry. And I definitely think it needs to stay in Vegas. So I don't know what's going to happen. This is their second year going to Resorts World. They're going to get their third year. So either they're going to extend, they're going to change the venue, they're going to change the date, or they're going to go back to Orlando, or maybe a different state. I did think I saw something with Dan Solomon say that they were going to put them in they were maybe considering, Madison Square Garden or Chicago. I mean, I don't know about going. I mean, in the past, it's been in New York, it's been in Atlanta, it's been in Columbus, but that's when they didn't have many divisions back then. Now we have so many; it's very like all over. So bringing people from, this has grown worldwide. So I don't know. Honestly, I'd rather stay in Las Vegas because I think that is the fitness industry. That is like where it should be. But also just make it just more convenient for the athletes so they can show up looking at their best. So I don't know if maybe I could see it in a different state outside of Nevada or outside of Florida, but I don't see it going outside the US. Maybe in 10 years from now, if you ask me that question, possibly, but I don't see it now. With these new qualification rules, do you see more PEDs being used in bikini? I actually watched that podcast episode with Corey Hagman. And I remember messaging her like, I think you're going to say something about this. And unfortunately, you're going to, it may happen. It's going to happen, but to hold that condition, to continuously compete and to go into show after show after show just to try to get points, just to try to, get a win, ensure your qualification, ensure your spot. Yeah, it's going to happen. You might get those girls with stomach fever and, then fortunately some girls may take it further and wind up getting side effects. But as long as you're doing something safe and, as long as you're doing something where it's like less is more, I feel like that's now being more in the past because, then again, the cost of competing is going to go up, travel, tanning, your suit, hotel, it's a lot. I think financial, like you better, like, I feel like more financial, it's going to be hurting people, the physical and the mental side, that's going to take a toll on a lot of people. So I do see that happening, but I do think that we're better now than in the past. We have better coaching now than in the past. So do things and obviously taking care of an athlete's health, making sure that obviously they're getting their routine blood work done, that if they need to take the time off, if they're stressed, do that. Don't strain yourself to try to just qualify. I get it when someone's like, I have points, and then someone comes in, they're getting more points and like, oh man, I might lose my spot. But we have to understand what the risk and reward that we're taking here. So I do think that is going to happen, but there's, like I said, many ways to do it, but there's a smart way of doing it. What has been something you noticed now in bikini with Physiques being awarded? Definitely more muscle. Definitely, I'm seeing, more emphasis on the glutes, the glute projection, the glute density, more legs, people like, more legs, to balance out your glutes and your legs. Cause you're not going to be walking around with like on sticks anymore. You're not going to be like thin in the legs, big glutes. No, you have to like have that, balanced out, proportionate. That's what I'm seeing more. I mean, just after seeing, I think it was the show Tyler was judging, was it Battle of the Bodies with the Alice girl from Italy? It was definitely a more muscular look, and definitely I think Bikini is going to be more muscular. Going from amateur and then going into the pro league, that's a totally different ball game. Like, you were good as an amateur, you may have won everything, may have won the overall, but then you get into the pro league now. This is a whole different level, and now people, I feel like more they have to take more off seasons. That's something I've noticed last year, that there weren't many new pros that won overalls. Even this year, there weren't many pros that won overalls or turned pro, even won their class, that went and competed right away, because they're like, I don't think I was good as an amateur, but I can't be competitive at the pro level. So I definitely think now you're seeing people like, once they turn pro, they're taking an off season, maybe two, and then deciding to get on stage because they want to be ready to go. But I think there's maybe a few that are exceptional that can go and compete right away and, possibly qualify for the Olympia and win shows. I mean, if the judges like Tyler, Sandy, Becky, or Steve even say, I think you're ready to, win a show right away, I'd go ahead and I'd do it. I'd rather people take time to develop that versus just going in and having high expectations. Like, I just turned pro at nationals, I'm going to go win Pittsburgh. No, like, take the time to grow into the physique. Take the time. Like, you want to be a contender to win. Because now you have to win 2 shows. It's not like being one and done in the past. So I definitely will say that because of what's being awarded and how Bikini's getting more and more and more, it's getting more and more difficult just to do well at the pro level. So, and now that we have fit model, you may see girls who maybe can't get that conditioning, maybe can't get that muscle growth. Some girls in Bikini may go down to fit model, and so we may see, look, maybe fit model is getting much bigger. And up until junior nationals, that winner, Lauren Lovato, I think that girl's like the ideal fit model physique. And Liz as well from Junior USA's, I like their looks a lot. But then after that, when it got into like USA's, when it got into North Americans, I'm seeing more muscular girls. And one thing that really bothered me for fit models, the suits are getting smaller cuts. I'm like, you got to really enforce that. That's just my only thing with the pro league. Like, I'm not the call, I don't make that call, but I feel like they need to enforce the suit cuts because they're getting more sheer and more thinner. I think Sean from Sean's Couture has the right cut and does it very well. But I feel like girls have to like align with what the pro league wants, and then the judges have to enforce those rules. So I see it getting more and more muscular. I think some girls are like semi-figure now in Bikini. Some people are saying, oh, it's like a hybrid wellness. I've seen the comments when I post my top 6. I just show people like, hey, this is what gets awarded at the pro level. You got to see where you stand. It's like, I know this is a comparison game. Girls are going to go, damn, I'm not good enough. Like, no, it's like, see what got awarded at shows. Sometimes, we have the Olympia as the standard. We have the Arnold Classic and the Pittsburgh, because that's where all the top judges at the Olympia are. So I would look at that and go, based off that, that's where things are going. I looked at Pittsburgh and I'm like, okay, and the Arnold this year, I'm like, okay, so that's going. Laura Lee is our champion. She is the standard. We need to follow that. So I do think, even though we have less competitors in the NPC, it is very competitive. I think Class E, which is, I think, average height of like 5'4", Class C is like 5'2". Those are like the average height. If you're the H class winner was the overall winner at North America, so she's the outlier being the taller girl. Laura Lee was F class when she won because that was the highest height that they had at the time. So a lot of the taller girls have to like really take the more time to grow into that physique. And girls who have like that average female height at 5'2", 5'4", depending on their frame and their in their ratios, they have to find ways to bring that physique up and to be competitive right away. I mean, I feel like this is just, things take time. I mean, I'm standing here talking. I think things take a lot of time just to grow into that physique, to be at the pro level, at the, Olympia, at the Arnold Classic level. And yeah, so that's kind of what I'm seeing things going. We'll see what happens after this Olympia and where the direction's headed to, especially now with fit model being implemented. Best place to learn the basics of training: private gym, commercial gym. What equipments do you recommend? So we live in this era now where now you see much more easier convenience. There are a lot of new private gyms because people don't like the whole commercial gym, like your LA Fitnesses, your Gold's gyms, your Planet Fitnesses. You don't need to have the most nicest equipment in the world. Just do the things that are necessary for your physique to grow. You can't sell hard work. You cannot sell hard work. I know you have a lot of these nuances, like your fitness influencers. They can talk, and that's what they sell. They sell talk. But putting in that work, putting in that intensity, and training for a long duration of time, that's your trifecta for success right there. So we live in a world now where you have like nice equipment like your Panada, like new tech, and it's very well advanced. But I feel like if you have been training for a long period of time, it makes things much easier. You're doing the easy stuff first. I would learn to do the hard things, even if it's just dumbbells, even if it's just using cables, using those cables where you attach to and on your wrist and then you go up, or you attach to your ankles, investing in that for kickbacks, working on your upper outer glutes. That's something that I feel like you can go to any gym. You can go to, and what's it in Canada? Good Life. You could be a pro just training at those kind of gyms, as long as when you're in your end, you are locked in. That is your office. That is where you train. You could go. I mean, I'm privileged to have nice gyms here in the DMV, like DMV Iron Gym. They're getting now they have 5 locations. The Shop Gym, they have 2 locations. They're getting one out in Arizona. I'm privileged to have that close by, but if I did not, I would just go to any gym and just train there. You don't have to have the nicest equipment to train, as long as you have the basics and you can find ways. I think a lot of gyms now are getting hip thrust machines. Maybe gyms on average have like 1, 2, 3 Smith machines. Just know what needs to work, know what needs to come up with your physique to bring that up, and just work on that. So you don't need to have the nicest gym in the world to train that. Yes, you're going to be in Las Vegas and you have almost all the nice equipment from like almost every nice company there. Dragons has Arsenal, New Tech has New Tech, and some of those gyms have like Panad and stuff, and that's cool. I love the old school stuff like Atlantis Flex. I kind of like that because those were things that I feel like could develop. I mean, if I had my own gym, never say never, but I would kind of do that. But do things with training intensity. Do things with like your focus when you're in the gym. Your headphones on, they're noise canceling. Nothing else matters. You are there. You are putting in work for a good 45 minutes, hour and a half. You're doing your cardio. You are locked in. That's what matters. Just being driven and focused. And it doesn't matter what gym you're in. You can be a Mr. Olympia, Miss Olympia, and just train at any gym. You don't have to go to the biggest name and all that. Just put in the work and do that for a long duration of time. This is a good one. Who is the best to get third place but not win? So, I mean, right now, Jazzy Gonzalez, best third place. Who's been third but like never won? I mean, everyone who's taken second eventually won the Olympia, but outside of Yeshaida Robles and Jennifer Ronziti, but at third place, I can't say Ashley. She's won it. Attila. Who is it? India Paulino. Romina. People forgot Romina got third at 2017. The year Angelica won. Who was third? Oh yeah, Stacey Alexander. And there was one more. Oh, this is like Jeopardy. Who's third? She was like in movies and like had like some TV gigs. She was really young. It was like the OG Bikini. Can't remember her name. Let me look it up. She blonde girl. Oh yeah. Diana Dahlgren. But those looks are totally different now. Those from OG Bikini to now, if I could say any of those physiques would have been competitive in today's Bikini, I would say, honestly, I think Attila could have had a Miss Olympia title. I think she was in a tough time. She got third at her last show that she ever did, and she was in a time where it was like really competitive. She got eighth at her first Olympia. She won the New York Pros. She won that Iron Game show that had like 50 girls in it. She would have been a great ambassador before she became a judge, but if she wanted to, she could come back and try to get her pro card again. But I think Attila, honestly, another person who I felt could have maybe won, India Paulino. And she was a great ambassador for the sport. She won many shows. She's been third, I think. She's won the Arnold twice. She's been third, I think, 2012. 16, I think 16, she could have won the Olympia that year. There was not a perfect score. I think it would have argued, I think 16 was one of her best looks. The year she won her first Arnold, when she took fifth, I was kind of like, I had her going into that Olympia. The one Ashley won her first one, I thought that she was going to win that one. But honestly, we'll see what Jazzy's going to do. But honestly, out of all of them, I think India could have had one. And I think Attila could have been, a multi-time winner. But man, the times have changed. How, if you look at what Diana and Stacey Alexander they look kind of like what Fit Model was. They've been retired for, I think now almost over 10 years. So we haven't, those physiques wouldn't even place in the amateurs now these days. Next question. Let's see. Why do you think diuretics are not being used now versus more in the past? I feel that the side effects from it is a reason why. There's a lot of health risk, a lot of people, trying to diet down and stuff. I feel like coaches now are finding ways to manipulate sodium levels and not having to take that, because I won't mention the athlete's name, but she would do diuretics 2-3 days out before her show just to dry out. And it was just like hit or miss. Like she could win the show, she could lose it. And depending on the side effects and how her body responds, she could do well. But also some people can look inflamed and watery. It's just finding ways to diet down. It's like this is probably not the best way to say it, but if someone is having their period and stuff, you have to just, find ways to adapt to that. And on show day, if that happens before or during show day, find ways to just adapt to that. Maybe it is necessary if you are inflamed, but, just to like soothe it out. But I would not, now these days, what's the MHP that people were using, they've used proprietary blends. I just wouldn't trust it. A lot of people have gone to the ER, taken that stuff, and we've seen it over the years. And I think like people now are more aware of the risks, and, I think it's kind of, that method is kind of outdated versus now, because it's just finding ways to, manage, your macros, like your carbs, your proteins, your fats, and find ways to, peak that athlete. We're better now. We're better educated. We've done things different way. I always say less is more. I keep, that's something Corey Hageman even taught me, is that less is more, and that we should just that we should do less versus doing 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 different things. So yeah, the health risks that we're taking, also with everything that we are doing, in a prep, being low levels, being almost depleted, there's a lot of health risks that you take when you're doing that. So I think now we're much better, and we're more educated, and we keep adapting to the game. And that's kind of why I feel like diuretics are not being used as much. Let's see. All right. Best ambassador for Bikini. I think that'll be our last question. Honestly, out of all the female divisions, I think Bikini has the best ambassadors right now. Like now, more in the past, like they're out there representing, the sport. They've been all great. All the top 5 girls, even some of the girls in the top 10, or girls who place, they're great ambassadors. They're doing seminars, they're traveling the world. Laura Lee's been a great ambassador for the sport. She's going to the show. She's, presenting words. The people are happy to see her. Ashley half this year has been from beginning of January to almost June, when she did Mile High as her first show. She's been traveling the world. She's going to shows outside the US competing there, even though it's not necessary for her. She just likes to do that. I mean, she's won shows in 11 different countries. When I was looking it up, I'm like, wow, you've been to India, you've been to Russia, you've been to Japan, you've been to Romania, Kazakhstan. I mean, it's so cool. I think post Olympia, she's going to Slovakia. I mean, I don't know what the hell is in Slovakia, but that's pretty cool that she's going out there. They're in, growing this sport, growing it NPC worldwide, inspiring this next generation. Jazzy, she got to go to FIBO in Germany this year. She also did that expo in Mexico before Pittsburgh. She told me it wasn't the best, but hey, you know what? She's been a great representation of the sport. I mean, we last saw her on stage at the Arnold, but all of them are doing great things. Amy's getting opportunities to go travel. I mean, she's been asked so many times to go to South Korea or Japan because she has such a big fan base out there, and they don't even speak English, and they love her, and they love Laura Lee, and they're now inspired to go train in the gym. They've been all great. I mean, now people are getting that opportunity, especially with social media. Even if you're not the current Miss Olympia champion, or you're being great, Samson Dauda, who's the Mr. Olympia right now, he's been the best Mr. Olympia ambassador. He's got sponsors from South Korea. He's got gym equipment from Brazil. He's got Hostile in the US. He lives out in the UK. So, I mean, it's great that it's growing and it's changing people's lives, and it's also giving them opportunities that they probably couldn't have that versus in the past. Vanya, when she won the Arnold, she's gotten more, her posing clients have grown. And Vanya being the Arnold Classic champion, I mean, is a great representation. I definitely think that, I mean, she's won almost on every hemisphere. I'm told her if you win in Asia, hey, Vanya International, that would be awesome. But even so, I mean, all of them have done well. Some of the girls that are local, they've been going to the seminars like on the East Coast and representing the sport. Helping clients with posing. They've been growing their own businesses out. I think this division, and I'm not taking away any credit from any other division, I definitely think Bikini division has the best ambassadors of any female division right now. I mean, Isa in wellness has been great. She's been going to she lives here in the US, even though she's Brazilian. Her fan base and her sponsors are from Brazil. She's been great. She got Elevate, the cream of rice, now her own signature flavor. That's really cool. I think Daraja Hill has her own pre-workout flavor from Core, and I mean, that's great that we're growing. I mean, to have that, to do something for the athletes, it's truly amazing. Who else? I think Jordan Brannon, she's been traveling, with her club. She competes and is a coach at the same time. She's been a great ambassador, her and Sean, and I'm going to have my episode with Sean up, but they've been great ambassadors for the sport. They represent it very well. I definitely think, they've been doing great things, and I definitely think, more than ever. But best ambassador, if I had to pick one, I mean, I let the people decide that when I have my awards, but I think honestly, all the girls have been great ambassadors. They've all been great representations of the sport. And, it's great that it's growing. It's great that we're getting worldwide, and that, we're bringing this next new era of people. And, they're going to lead that next few people. You're the people that, they're the role models. They represent the sport. So I definitely say it's great what Bikini's becoming, even though some people may have their thoughts and stuff, on where the division's going, where the direction's going. I think that we're in a good spot versus in the past, because we didn't have many people going out and reaching out, and now they're getting opportunities more than they have ever, and take those opportunities while you can. I remember Sydney, a big reason I feel like she wanted to stop at 8 because she kept saying no, and then she's now 33 years old. If she kept saying no up until like mid 30s before she says, okay, I'm done, she would never have that. So, we always say later or some other day, always say later never comes. So if you have those opportunities or you have those gigs, come out, do that. Your fans will appreciate you. The people who look up to you, they appreciate everything that they do. And it's been great to see that happening in this division. And I'm happy that I've been invested in this division since it started, back when I was in high school, and I didn't like it at first because I didn't like the way they were posing, but it's grown, and I'm seeing it over the years, and I've seen how people, love the fans and how they interact with the fans. I think the biggest lines at this Olympia probably going to be Laura Lee and Ashley with, their accolades and accomplishments. It's at the Meet the Athletes, they all have their fans, and it's great what they're doing. It's great that people are looking up and then seeing their journey of when they started to what they are now. They're like, wow, it's going to take me time to grow like this. And they show people what they're going through. I definitely think it can relate and it can help people, grow. And honestly, love what they're doing. And I think it's going to be great. Anyways, that's all my questions I have for today. I'm going to finish uploading this one up, and then I'll have my Q&RA. I have my special guest, which you guys are going to love. And I promise to do my recap, and I'll get to my predictions next week. And I'll see you guys then.